Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Saturday, February 17th, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith. No Zach Urban today. Was going to join us even though he was out of town, but forgot his laptop. No way to get on stream, unfortunately. He was pretty pissed off about it, but that's all right. We'll get him back next Saturday. He's at a ball hockey tournament, by the way, so in Victoria, BC. So we wish him well. Hopefully he brings home first place, brings home the gold, so to speak. We hope to bring home the gold here on this show with the Saturday card. It's a huge slate. We have 4, and I didn't even realize this till like 20 minutes ago. I didn't realize that all these some of these afternoon games were nationally televised. But yeah, ABC, with the lack of NBA, obviously this weekend, with it being All-Star weekend for them, went all in on hockey this weekend. There's 3 ABC nationally televised games today: Kings, Bruins, Oilers, Stars this afternoon, and then of course the first of the 2 outdoor games at MetLife Stadium, with the Flyers and Devils tonight, and then the Rangers-Islanders outdoor game at MetLife Stadium tomorrow afternoon. So 4 ABC games this weekend. So it's good for the league. It's good for the sport to have all that national TV coverage. I'm already seeing PK Subban talking a mile a minute. So, you know it's an ABC game when you see that. That guy's just a ball of energy, man. Wow. He doesn't need caffeine to get going and get the energy level up when he's on the air. But let's briefly talk about last night, just simply because, look, for a game I didn't love, I ended up with 3 or 4 bets on it, and it ended up going very well. Carolina puck line best bet ends up winning. Carolina first period team total. I said over 1 plus 110 with the first period team total on Carolina. Thought they could jump on a struggling Karel Vejmelka and the Coyotes early. They did that. The team total for the game cashes as well, as they get 5 goals. It goes over 3.5. And another bargain bin special hits with Jordan Martinook. And we only have to wait 16 seconds into the game to cash that one at plus 490. We like the spot. He's been playing well on that line, facing one of his old teams, the Arizona Coyotes, and it absolutely worked out perfectly. So 5-1 Carolina. Spectacular game all around. Really, really good game for Kochetkov. I want him to be talked about because in a 5-1 game, it's going to look like, wow, Carolina just dominated. There were portions of that game when Arizona was really taking it to Carolina, and Pyotr Kochetkov had to be good and really good in several moments during that game, and he was. He continues to seemingly get better and better with each start, which is why now we hear that Ront is closing in on maybe coming back soon. Apparently, Freddie Anderson is skating again, and now the worries, for me at least, with this team are, we put Kochetkov back on the bench again, which I hope doesn't happen, because I think this is the guy you need to go with moving forward for Carolina. But it was a great game for them all around. They got multiple contributions. Nate just stepped up at a good game. Martinook scores. Bunting, again, continues his recent play, so strong play. So a very good win overall for Carolina. And the struggles continue, Alex, for Arizona. It's now 8 straight losses for the Desert Dogs.
Yeah, we're starting to see this team finally kind of regress into the form that we were expecting at the beginning of the year. And a lot of it's predicated on, like I said, Karel Vejmelka, who had seemed like a guy who could, at his best, could be a reliable 1A option. And then you figured with Connor Ingram having such a great emergence this season that maybe this team could hold afloat, and that's why we saw them kind of pressing toward the middle of the road in the Central. But now, the offense has dried up. We haven't heard Logan Cooley's name in quite some time, the way that we had at the beginning of the year. Michelli, there was a couple of guys, Carconi. Those guys have kind of, cooled off a bit, and the team has gone right down the tank with them. So, this is what we're kind of expecting from Arizona moving forward. Like I said, great win for Carolina. And, yes, a great win for Pyotr Kochetkov, who needs to be the number 1 goalie with this team, regardless if Ronta's healthy, regardless if Anderson's healthy. If those guys are fine, good. There's other teams that need goaltending. Move them and fill up some other holes. But do not rock with Kochetkov right now. You put him back in the AHL or back on the bench or start this 3-goalie rotation thing. This team, all the momentum they have right now, will probably start rolling back and before you know it, this team will be fighting for their wild card lives rather than trying to get into a good, solid position in the Metro in that top 3. So I think a good win for them, and this needs to be a sign to that front office. Hey, don't rock the apple cart right now. Go with Kochetkov, get this offense and defense rolling, and continue to move forward. Don't roll back with the 2 old goalies you shouldn't have signed in the first place in the offseason.
Yeah, keep them in the nursing home. All right. Yeah, I agree. It's time to go with Pyotr Kochetkov right now. Don't let them get any fresh air. Keep them in that old dingy nursing home, as we say. Yeah, keep them there. I think it's Pyotr Kochetkov time, honestly, moving forward, because look, Freddie Anderson can be good, can be really good at times, but we have not seen really good consistency out of Freddie Anderson in a long time. I think it is time to roll with Kochetkov moving forward. And for us, it's time to roll with the Saturday NHL card. We've got the first game coming up in about 20 minutes from now, the first of a triple header today on ABC. The Los Angeles Kings and the Boston Bruins. Believe we got Bobby Wischusen and Ryan Callahan Auto Parts calling this game for the network. Boston minus 160, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. This game's not much to me as far as anything. Sides told. I have a small bet on the draw here. That's about it. I could see maybe this one going to OT just because, I think it's going to be one of those cagey affairs here early in the day. Although it depends on what David Riddick shows up. Is it David Riddick of the Edmonton game last Saturday where he shuts out the Oilers, or the David Riddick the other night where they beat New Jersey 2-1, or is it Big Siv Dave when he was in net against Buffalo and they got bombed 7-0? So really all depends on that. But David Riddick is in net, confirmed, and it took just until it was basically 15 minutes ago when the confirmation was made that David Riddick would be the goaltender today. So as a result, we've been waiting for some saves props, and I finally have them. 25.5 saves for David Riddick, over 25.5 saves, minus 120. We talked about this with Decord. We talked about in the Seattle game against Boston. Jimmy Murphy, who joined us late yesterday, talked about it, saying Boston, Jim Montgomery said to this team a couple games ago, up the shot volume, throw pucks at the net. And man, we have seen it play out that way. Boston with way over 30-plus shots on goal in their last 2 games. So I think to get David Riddick over 25.5 saves is a really good look. Jimmy Murphy said that was something he would be betting in this game. And he said that clear as day yesterday, Alex, that take the opposition goaltender right now over saves against the Boston Bruins, because the Bruins are making a concerted effort to shoot the puck a lot more. So those are the only 2 bets, draw and Riddick over 25.5 saves for me. Alex, what do you like here, Kings Bruins?
Yeah, I had nothing. I would like the draw and maybe the first period over a little more if this was a night game. And I'm glad, obviously, they have an early start, like you said, with the triple header. But yeah, these 2 teams are in such weird spots, especially the Kings. I know you said you weren't touching the Kings side for a while at all, period. But I just kind of would have liked this game to be at night. I think there's a little bit of an edge with Boston playing this early. But LA has to start taking the fight to teams early in games. So this is one I'll be watching. I have it on the TV by me. Might look for a first period over in game if this thing gets up to about 130, 140. If we go about 4 minutes scoreless, I might grab something small with that. But yeah, it's not one of my favorite spots on the card today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it could be a low event game. That is a concern when you're talking these 2 teams. And LA really clamped down defensively against New Jersey. I think they knew, hey, we're not going to win giving up 7 goals. We can't do that. That's not the way we're successful. And sure enough, it was a very tight, low scoring affair against New Jersey. Probably kind of is that way here, although Boston games are weird in these afternoon games. I've seen some 4-3 games with them in the afternoon, and I've seen some 2-0, 2-1, 3-1 games. So the total's dicey for me. I'm just staying totally away from it. And as I said with the Kings, I'm staying away from a side, money line side. I am on the draw here, but I'm staying away from the money line side with this team right now. I'm just letting them go about their business, keep me out of it, from a betting standpoint right now with this Kings team. But I'm not laying a price with Boston either, because look, Boston's not playing their best hockey right now. There's a little bit of things are a little out of whack, out of sync right now for Boston, and they're not the team I'm comfortable with laying minus 160 at this point in time. All right, Ottawa, Chicago. We've got the Senators minus 190, road favorites, 6.5. The total is another afternoon game. This one's at 3 p.m. Eastern this afternoon. This is not the ABC game, by the way. It's at the same time, but it's not nationally televised. And Yeah, that's the good call. Ottawa,
good reason.
Ottawa, Chicago, Edmonton,
Edmonton,
Dallas at the same time. Which one would be the better one to put coast to coast? Yeah. Yeah, you'd be a complete moron to think otherwise if you're ABC. So at least they got that one right. Look, I still think there's going to be residual value with Bedard back to maybe look at Chicago in spots. But the thing I don't like here is Ottawa just laid an egg against Anaheim, at home the other night. And you got to think Ottawa's coming to play here, looking to bounce back strong after that dud on home ice on Thursday night against the Anaheim Ducks. So this is one from a side perspective I really don't want to do much with. I do think this could be sneaky as far as goals are concerned. Now, I get it that Chicago has not been an over team for a long, long time. And even in the first game with Bedard back, it still stayed under the total, 4-1 Pittsburgh the other night. But I think if anything, look, the chemistry will be better. A game under his belt now for CB98. He'll be a little more comfortable out there. I think the offensive fluidity, might be a little bit stronger, a little bit more cohesion at that end of the ice now with him back for a game. And when you look at Ottawa, we just saw them give up a 5 spot at home to the Anaheim Ducks. It's not like night to night, even with some improvements gradually, incrementally defensively under Jacques Martin. They're not a shutdown team by any stretch of the imagination. They're trying to get better, but still a work in progress. We don't have goalies confirmed, by the way, for this game. By the way, Allmark's in net for Boston in the first game. Korpisalo and Mrazek are expected in this game, but nothing confirmed as of yet. For me, it's just neither bet's a big one. They're smaller bets, but I did a little first period full game over split here in this game. Over 1.5 minus 130, over 6 at minus 120 at Pinnacle. Shop around because only a couple books have 6, but I was able to find over 6 minus 120 at Pinnacle. That's it for me. I do think Ottawa presses the issue after a bad game against Anaheim. Able to find the back of the net a little bit. And like I said, after that wave of unders and unable to score goals and put a puck in the ocean for this Blackhawks team, I do think eventually positive offensive regression is going to start hitting this Chicago team, and probably a better chance of them finding that offense this afternoon against an Ottawa team that, look, Pittsburgh's got their flaws, but Pittsburgh is still, I think, defensively a little bit better and sturdier than Ottawa is. So, first period and full game over split for me. Alex, Senators, Hawks.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. 2:00 start, which is kind of odd. This is something new that they've been doing this season. They're making their Kids' Day games on Saturday afternoons now. They call it the best day ever or something like that. So that explains the kind of odd start. And like I said, with Bedard back in the lineup, I know everybody's just expecting him to just automatically supercharge his offense. And yes, he did get things rolling. He got the assist on that Khrushchev goal, thankfully. Somebody cashed with that. But, it's still going to take time to gel. Just think about the beginning of the year. Everybody thought he was going to score the first game against Pittsburgh. I said it in July. I'm like, this guy's not going to get his first goal in his first NHL game. Everybody wants the fairy tale, the story tale star. That's not always how it works. It takes time. And here's a spot where the Hawks get a team in Ottawa that has been, like I said, laid an egg in the last game, haven't been playing that well. And this has been a house of horrors for the Sens in recent years, the United Center. They have lost 10 straight meetings against the Hawks. But even when you look back at the last 3 games that were at the UC, 5-0 last March, 5-1 in November 21, and then you go all the way back to 2019. I do remember that game, 8-7, where you had 9 goals scored in the first period at the absolute height of the first period overturn. This should be an interesting kind of a battle. I like Bedard to get the first goal at plus 1,400. I'm giving it out now because it's an early start, so it's not going to be my official bargain bin play. But I mean, obviously, it's a bargain bin price, 14-1. I also do like the first period over, full game overs, but I'm going to wait and grab those in game. I'd like to get at least laying $1.10, maybe a 5.5, or something closer to a plus price with a 6.5, a higher plus price rather with a 6.5. So overlooks, but I'm going to grab them in game. And I did sprinkle a little bit on the draw at plus 350. Not my favorite draw look, but this is kind of a weird start time, weird game. And if we're expecting goals, there's no reason why this couldn't be 3-3 or 4-4 after 60 minutes.
No doubt. So, I mean, Chicago 10-0 in the last 10 meetings against Ottawa. It's pretty crazy that they've had that kind of dominance against them. If you had given me Ottawa taking care of business, as I think many of us thought they would against Anaheim, and they won 5-1 against Anaheim as opposed to, the opposite of that, I'd probably be taking Chicago at this price. I definitely would be. And I probably still lean that way, but Ottawa just had such a bad game against Anaheim. They're not gonna go through the motions here. That's just my thought.
I also got to give some credit to Jackson Stauber, who should be the backup goalie for Chicago. Unfortunately, he's in Rockford, but what he did do last night was post a shutout and score a goal for the Ice Hawks. So that makes him more prolific of a scorer than half of this Blackhawks team has been for the last month.
Yeah, no doubt. I do lean. Look, I do lean Chicago. If I'm betting a side, it's that, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to look to the, like I say, small bets on that first period over, full game over here in this game. As far as the props, I like what Alex said with Kurashev. Makes sense to me. Maybe Mr. Pinto again for Ottawa, who's now on the top power play unit as well. So keep an eye on that. Jacques Martin has given him a lot more leeway and a lot more ice time, and that's a sign of him being very impressed with what he's seen from Parlay Pinto. Here since he's been back in the lineup for the Ottawa Senators. All right, Edmonton Oilers and Dallas Stars. This is your second ABC game this afternoon, coast to coast. It's a hell of a game. I can't wait. I'm excited to see it. We've got the Stars minus 125 home favorites, 6.5 the total here in this one. I've been saying it all week on the Ice Guys show. Defensive regression is going to hit this Oilers team. You're not going to continue to surrender 2 goals or less in every freaking game that you play. It's just not possible in this league. You're not going to keep that. That's not sustainable. That kind of defensive play is not sustainable. And sure enough, what have we seen from Edmonton the last 2 games? Giving up 4 goals to Detroit, giving up 6 goals in a loss to the St. Louis Blues the other night. And you're seeing it now. And another thing, too, is the losses are starting to mount, not at an alarming rate, but they lose obviously to Vegas, snapping the streak. They lose to LA last weekend. They do beat Detroit, and then they lose again to St. Louis. So I think now that they've lost a couple, it's almost like, well, the streak's over now, and you just haven't seen them just locked into the details of the game defensively and the structure of the team defensively be nearly as sharp and on point, as it was during that 16-game win streak that they had. It better be on point today because the Dallas Stars are a red-hot offensive team right now. They are getting offensive contributions from pretty much everyone, especially in the top 3 forward group, top 3 lines for this Stars team. It's been impressive. They obviously put up a 9 spot against Nashville, the mom strip. We were all on the Dallas Stars in that game. We love Dallas in that spot. 9-2. They absolutely lay a beat down on the Nashville Predators. They beat a very good Carolina team 4-2 at home earlier this week. They are now 7-1 in their last 8 games. The only loss was a 1-goal defeat to Toronto on the second night of a back-to-back, I might add as well. So it wasn't really all that great of a spot either for the Dallas Stars. So that's it. They've been very good. What I have done here is, look, I continue to think Edmonton is going to show a few holes defensively now as we continue to go on. Suddenly they've given up 14 goals in the last 3 games combined, 6-4-4 in the last 3 games. So what I like here, and there's quite a few things I like. Smallest bet for me of the bunch. Let's start with the smallest, and we'll go to the one I like most. Smallest one for me is Dallas money line, minus 120. Next in line is Dallas team total. Over 3.5 here, because remember, we cashed a ticket with team total against Edmonton the other night with St. Louis. Dallas team total over 3.5 is around even money. And then we go even one step further, because I do think Edmonton's bringing a good effort, and they're going to want to after one of their worst games in a while against St. Louis. I like over 1.5 first period. Now you could argue, wait for a better price live because it's minus 160 with that right now. I also like both teams to score first period, plus 140 here in this game, and also the 6.5 over with the Oilers and the Stars as well. I believe it's going to be a Jake Ottinger and Calvin Pickard matchup. It's definitely going to be Cal Pickard in net for the Edmonton Oilers, as they're giving Skinner a bit of a break today, and Jake Ottinger's expected here for the Dallas Stars. Jake Ottinger's great. That's the biggest fear I have with all the overs, is Ottinger's playing probably some of his best hockey of the season right now. But he's also going to meet up against an Edmonton team that we know is as potent as it gets, and that's been a big part of the success they've had the last 21 games, is that they've gotten not only McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman doing their thing. Nugent Hopkins is stepping up. Kane is stepping up. McLeod and Fogle have stepped up. Holloway is chipping in. It's just a lot that you got to do. Bouchard from the back end. There's just a lot you got to deal with on this Oilers team. So there's going to be a challenge for Ottinger. He's clearly could be up for it because he's playing well right now, but I don't think he's shutting down Edmonton totally here in this game, especially with the Oilers off a loss. So that's the approach here. Dallas money line, Dallas team total over, first period over, first period both teams to score, full game over here. And it's really the last three that I like in this. And if I were to bet anything on Dallas, like I say, I've got a little more on the team total with Dallas than I do on the money line. Whew, there we go. Got to catch my breath after saying that. Alex, what do you think here? Hell of a game. I'm glad it's on ABC. It could be something special. Hopefully it lives up. Edmonton, Dallas.
Yeah, it's definitely the marquee game of the afternoon slate for sure. And I like Dallas here. I grabbed them money line minus $1.20 this morning. I do like the first period over. I like the first period over a little bit more than the full game, and I am going to wait and grab that in game. I'm not going to lay 160. I'm trying to get that down to about 130 or 125 with that. I also like both teams to score. I was able to get plus 130. The shop around, like I said, there's plus 140s around. I think FanDuel and DraftKings have 140s for that first period, both teams to score. So yeah, Edmonton, the regression's just happening a little bit, and it's natural. It's not saying that they're falling off a cliff. They're not, back to where they were in October. They're just having, natural regression here where Dallas, who had been struggling, we saw Andre get hurt. We saw this team kind of, floundering around a bit before the All-Star break. It seems like they now finally had the little rest they needed. Ottinger's healthy and in a good groove right now, and that's dangerous. And when you have Dallas firing on all cylinders, $1.20, $1.25 is a tad bit too cheap, especially at home and especially in the early start where they're used to playing at these 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock games. I think they've had about 4 or 5 of these this season. Edmonton not so well versed in playing day games, at least in this season and in the last year. They don't have as many slated as Dallas has had so far this year. So those edges to combined with how the form is looking, give me Dallas on the money line. I'll take a shot at the team total over 3.5 as well. First period, both teams to score pregame, and first period over in game.
There we go. Liking it. So we line up on a lot of things. Alex holding off on a couple of those for a live look. No question about that. As far as props go, I mean, this is what I like your Wyatt Johnston, Myron, in our chat. Myron Kidd here, plus 600. That is. And, Wyatt Johnston's been a go-to for me. That's great value. I don't mind that one bit. Duchesne had a hell of a game against his old team. Sagan, Marchment, those are the guys usually we target on the Dallas side of the equation. Evan Bouchard continues to chip in offense from the blue line. Vander Kane's been very good lately for the Edmonton Oilers as well. But someone mentioned it in the chat already. He finally got his first goal as an Oiler the other night. Corey Perry. Chris Knobloch has moved him up the lineup as well. He's got Corey Perry playing with Leon now on that second line currently. With actually, it looks like Perry, McDavid, and Draisaitl might be the top line tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. And Corey Perry is a guy that Chris Knobloch said he can open up space for Leon and Connor, and he thinks that line could really have some great chemistry. So this is one of those just golden Ian Cameron player prop angles that he looks for during the course of a season. Someone moving up the lineup and it's not accounted for. Plus 500 at Patano. Are you kidding me? Top line with the two best players on the team, McDavid and Draisaitl. You could get plus 500 with Corey Perry. Hopefully he's Scorey Perry this afternoon. Plus 400 at Bet Rivers, plus 400 at PointsBet, 390 at DraftKings, 360 at FanDuel. Only 290 at BetMGM. Are they onto it that he's on the top line there at BetMGM and everyone else is sleeping? That's why you got to have multiple books. It's very important. So maybe they know that he's moved up to the top line. Patano has zero clue, clearly, because they got plus 500 on Corey Perry to score this afternoon.
Well, and here's the beauty of having, of course, multiple outs, but, BetMGM, of course, is a sponsor with the NHL. So if anybody's plugged in to having line moves, it's going to be the books that are affiliated with them. Betano, most people haven't even heard of Betano because they're an Ontario book.
I guarantee you the people that have heard of it know me or hear me. That's it.
Right. So that's the beauty of and you're in a spot where you have a lot of just books that are only available in that province. You can, probably scatter out. You probably have to keep your limits low with them because if you start hitting these, they might, limit the shit out of you or just cut you off altogether. But that's the beauty of having some of these kind of smaller, if you will, books in a province like Ontario. You can chip in and find some of those plays a little bit better and some way better prices than you can at your traditional shops.
Yeah. I swear that people hammer these bets that we recommend on this show during the show right after we say them, because I'm seeing Dallas money come in. I'm seeing the team total juice change. I'm seeing the over go up to -150. I mean, what's going on here?
People listening. We appreciate it, y'all.
I think so. I mean, this is every day I'm noticing this.
It is.
Too.
I know. I see it too.
I see it too. It's like pretty crazy. We're moving the market. All right. Next up, we've got Detroit and Calgary. This is another afternoon affair. We've got the Flames -145, home favorite, 6.5. The total in this game. One of the rants of all time from John Massey on the Betcast about Calgary. Just when they suck you in and get you excited, you're back in the playoff mix. You had a great road trip. You're back home against San Jose. You're up 1-0 after the first period, and then they spit in the fans' faces. He said. And they have a horrible last two periods against the Sharks, and they end up losing to San Jose at home the other night. Now, in theory, it's a bounce-back spot for Calgary. Ryan Huska and a lot of the players were disgusted after the game with the way they finished that game. I think it probably is a good spot for Calgary to bounce back, but I'm not going to lay -145 with them. But I'm not on Detroit either. Detroit's had a tough start to the road trip here in Western Canada, losses to the Oilers and the Canucks to start the road trip, and they've got James Reimer in net, and to say it's been a struggle for him this season would be an understatement. It has not been a great year for Reimer, but with Ville Husso out, they need to give Alex Lyon a rest. He's starting to look like he needs one, Lyon. He's played a lot of hockey, but it has not been a great season for Reimer. 3.22 goals against average, .894 save percentage for James Reimer this season. We haven't seen him really start in a game in quite some time either. This is only going to be his second start in the year 2024. Since January 1st. And again, most of his starts in December, he was giving up 5 goals, 6 goals. So again, it's been a rough season for Reimer. It's another one, much like Ottawa, Chicago, much like Edmonton, Dallas. My targets here are first period full game over in this game. You could even sprinkle first period both teams to score as well, which is +154 at FanDuel. That's really it. Nothing on the side. First period over, first period BTTS. And a little over 6.5 here as well. I mean, when I see Detroit, I think overs, and certainly when I see James Reimer in net, I think overs. The only concern about this is, you're going to see Jacob Markstrom back in net after they gave him a rest. They went with Dustin Wolf against San Jose. He's been awesome. It's the biggest fear I have with these overs is that he could shut the door completely, because he has been playing some of his best hockey, Markstrom, in between the pipes in a long, long time. So that could, stick a cork in some of these overs that I'm interested in this game, but I'm going with it regardless. What do you think here in this one, Alex? Red Wings, Flames.
Yeah, so I just bet the first period over 1.5. I laid the $1.35, and I'm gonna wait and grab full game. Now I'm gonna try and look for that at a 5 or higher plus pricing game. It just kind of grabbing that first period over early, just in case there is a goal early in the contest and I'm not able to grab an adjusted for the full over. 6.5 is a little bit steep at a plus money. I don't like it as much as, say, with some of the other games. I do see goals here, but I think we can see goals early. And like you mentioned, Jacob Markstrom getting the start in net, that could cause for some concern as far as the full game over goes. Now, I trust in Calgary getting some goals against James Reimer and Detroit. We know Detroit can push back. So I might end up sprinkling on the draw here as well. This isn't one of my favorite games throughout this kind of the early slate. But like I said, I'm not really crazy about a side. Could look at an overtime. Definitely liking goals early. So both teams to score first period is something else I'll have as well. That +154. That's a decent price for that point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Detroit's going to bring a good effort. It's just, do I trust them to win with Jimmy Reimer in net? That's the question. But that's going to be the question. I mean, I'm not laying it with Calgary. This is another one when I don't want to lay it with the favorite. That's automatically for me. If you pressed me up against the wall and forced me to bet something, that's always dog or pass for me when I'm not comfortable laying it with the favorite. So it would be Detroit or pass for me. But like I said, I just not a big fan of what I've seen out of Reimer this year. And really, Detroit defensively, the penalty kills struggled. And really, when the power play gets shut down, their 5-on-5 has been kind of inconsistent of late. Look at the Vancouver game. Power play had a million chances, couldn't convert, and that ended up being the difference in that game. As far as props go for this Detroit-Calgary game, there are a few of interest here for me. You talk about Lucas Raymond starting to get going. Comfer's actually been very good lately for the Red Wings. On the Calgary side, it looks like you're going to have Huberdeau, Sharangovich, and Kuzmenko still together on the top line right now for the Calgary Flames going into this game. Kuzmenko obviously has been very solid. Zari's been good. So those would be the ones I would be targeting there on Calgary's side of the equation. All right, Battle of Florida next up. Panthers and Lightning. There's another really good game this afternoon. Florida minus 120 road favorite, 6.5 the total here in this one. The big news, I guess, is Aaron Ekblad's out. He already announced that he will miss this game for the Florida Panthers with a lower body injury. Day-to-day, though, it's not anything significant, but they figure, you know what, he's been playing through it. We need to give him a little bit of a break here. It is going to be a significant absence. He's been playing really well of late. I think he scored a goal the other night. Josh Mahura is the guy that's going to draw into the lineup. Keep in mind, this guy played a lot last year for Florida, including during the playoffs. So more than capable. So it's going to be Mahura with Kulikov, Montour with Mikkola, Forsling with Ekman Larson for the Florida Panthers here in this game. Tampa Bay, on the other hand, great win for them against Colorado. And we've talked about this with the Lightning all year. They've had issues with their performance level on the road. We cannot say that about them at home. 18-5-3 for this Tampa Bay Lightning team at home. Something's got to give here. You've got one of the best home teams in the NHL playing the best road team in the NHL, that being the Florida Panthers. So something's got to give here in this one. My opinion remains firm here with Florida. I will not bet against this team right now. Not going to happen. But I do have a little bit of concerns about the particular spot here. It's 3-4, for this Panthers team. That's a little concerning. Tampa's lost 3 straight to Florida, and I know they've got this game circled. I know that they know that Florida's kind of had their number, the last few regular season meetings. And Florida's beaten them back-to-back times here at Amalie Arena as well. That's something to keep in mind. So I know Tampa's probably going to bring it here today against Florida. And the Ekblad absence is significant for the Panthers. So this is one of those deals where it's Florida or pass for me, but I'm not giddy about the Panthers as I've been in some recent spots and recent games involving them. I actually did sprinkle on the both teams to score in the first period in this game. I don't love over in this game, first period or full game, but I do think both teams to score has some value because I think I got a pretty good price with that. These are two capable teams. Florida can shut it down. Tampa's even capable when they're on their game of shutting it down with a lead. But you got these two teams in a game that I think is going to be full of passion, maybe a few penalties early because there's going to be that vitriol, that animosity. You can get a plus 170 for both teams to score in the first period in this game. I thought that's too good of a price to pass up. So I am on that. First period, both teams to score. That's about it. Maybe a sprinkle on the draw as well. What do you think here, Alex? Panthers, Lightning.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I like that first period, both teams to score, and I would be targeting a first period over in game. Like I said, I want to see the pace first. I want to see. We know how trippy the Battle of Florida can be, and you mentioned it about how Florida has won 3 straight in this building. Keep in mind that Florida's been playing good all year. Tampa Bay started off a little bit sluggish. They didn't have Vasilevsky early, so this is a different Tampa Bay team we're seeing right now. And I think overall, in the full scheme of this game, I think Tampa Bay can get the job done. So I have the dog plus 100, but I also have the draw plus 325. I think this could, like I said, and going back and forth, being a trippy kind of a game, this one could take a little longer to decide. This could be I could see this game not even just going overtime. I can see it going to a shootout as well. So if you have that prop option as well, maybe that's something worth sprinkling a little extra on. But I do like the dog. I like the draw, and I like both teams to score in the first period here.
Yeah, this is one, Jeffrey. Obviously, yeah, if both teams to score cashes, your first period over will as well. But I'm going just right to both teams to score in this game.
Waiting for a better price.
Over 1.5. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good look sometimes too. And I know people probably just say, oh, that's automatically correlated. Not necessarily. Yeah. You're looking for both teams to score. Like I said, you're expecting a different kind of a pace that, okay, if we're seeing the penalties and there's power play opportunities, then we can get multiple goals. And like I said, by you having position on both teams to score in the first, if you're seeing what you like, then that's why the beauty of live betting is you can jump in and grab that first period over in time. So.
Yeah. Here's what I think this game is. I think after the first period, this game is either 1-0 for somebody or it's 1-1. That's the way I see it. I think it's more likely to be 1-1 than 2-0 for somebody after the first period in this game. So that's why I'm more willing to take a shot with the first period, both teams to score, because if we get 2 goals in the first period, like I said, I just think there's a better chance of it being 1-1 than 2-0 in this particular game after the first period. I really expect it to be a very competitive game, Florida is on a roll. They're always going to want to beat Tampa, and they're always going to want to beat Tampa because it's a rival, and they still remember Tampa knocking them out, a couple of years ago. And then if you're Tampa, you've now lost 3 regular season games in a row to Florida. You're going to want to beat this team as well now. So that's why I say I like that setup for 1-1 after the first. Give me that 1-1 score after the first period. I might even sprinkle on that first period correct score.
Yeah, why not?
Here with the Panthers and the Lightning in this one, no question. All right, next up, we've got Buffalo and Minnesota. We've got the Wild here at home at XL Energy Center. This is one of those 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central start times here in Minnesota. We've got the Wild minus 145, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. It is Buffalo off a loss, and if you're ever going to bet the Sabres, that's the time you do it. When they're off a bad game and they're off a defeat like they are against the Florida Panthers, 4-0 loss in that game for the Buffalo Sabres, against the Florida Panthers. But Minnesota's playing some good hockey, all right? They are, and I'm going to give them credit, and I'm not really rushing to fade the Wild right now. They get another win the other night against Arizona. Their play since the All-Star break, undefeated still since the All-Star break. And all the quotes coming out of the dressing room from the players for this Minnesota team are, we're making a push. We're trying to make a push. We haven't given up yet. We think we can be a playoff team. Now, it's not going to be easy. They still have a shit ton of work to do, but they're off to a good start trying to make that playoff push with 4 straight wins following the All-Star break. That's just not something I'm looking to go against. It looks like for this game, we're going to have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen confirmed in net for Buffalo. Philip Gustafsson will get the nod for Minnesota. Still Power, Quinn, and Samuelsson out for the Sabres. Marcus Foligno remaining on IR for the Minnesota Wild. Jared Spurgeon, of course, still out long-term as well. I did sprinkle on the draw, though, here in this game with the Sabres and the Wild. And the reason for that is the draw history that we have seen with these two teams. And it's heavy draw history. 4 of the last 7 head-to-head meetings between the Sabres and the Wild have gone to overtime or a shootout. So that's my approach here, is just the draw. I could see definitely, to me, the most likely result is Minnesota in overtime or a shootout, because I think Buffalo will step their game up after getting blanked by Florida. That's what they do. They do play hard after losing, Buffalo. They just don't always play well, play and win. But I do think the effort's there. Minnesota, though, they're playing well. I think we get a potential for OT or a shootout here, and you can't avoid that series history. 4 of the last 7 have gone past regulation between Buffalo and Minnesota. So just the draw for me, and you can get plus 380 at FanDuel with that. Really good price. Alex, Sabres Wild.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite draw plays of the day, and you mentioned it because of this history. 2 of the last 3, 4 of the last 7 to go past regulation. And, Buffalo, their chances of getting to the playoffs seem to be slim and none, but they still do have it. They're still being competitive. Like you said, coming off a loss, heading on the road. I think they came in last night, so they should be, ready to go in this spot. It's kind of an odd start time, 4 p.m., but the Wild, they play these home kind of mid-evening, early evening games at times, so shouldn't be too rattled by them, and they're in good form. So I could see this one being a fun back-and-forth game. I would definitely be watching the majority of this, and like I said, definitely see it going past OT. So plus 380, that's a wonderful price. Give me the draw here as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Alex Tuck, sure. Props involving him, I could see it. JJ Paterka, I keep talking about him for a reason. He keeps on scoring, so that's the one I would be interested in. Minnesota, take your pick. Matt Boldy's just on a surge again, scoring, and Brock Faber assist. Finally, it didn't cash, believe it or not, the other night. So that's definitely, I wouldn't abandon ship on Brock Faber assist, especially when you can still get a plus price on that. It's still been a pretty good prop to bet here in recent weeks and recent games. And again, we got Luukkonen and Gustafsson confirmed in net. Probably be looking in those 2 directions. Also, when you look, Greenway, Greenway did score recently for Buffalo, Cuban. No question. And he's gotten a little bit more of a bump in the lineup. He's playing power play, too. They want that big body presence in front of the net. And he did have the 2-goal game against LA and that 7-0 victory. This is a team he used to play with. It's the former team angle, Minnesota Wild, going back to Minnesota. So I don't mind that at all. Cuban, Jordan Greenway, 100%. I think it's worth a look here when you consider that angle there, former team. So keep that in mind with Greenway going back to Minnesota here in this one. All right, we've got the Nashville Predators and the St. Louis Blues. I believe this is the last of the big slate of afternoon games. Yes, this is the final afternoon affair. We've got even money here, minus 110 both sides, Predators and Blues. The total 6 across the board. I don't know if anyone looked at series history, any of our viewers and listeners, I should say, when they did their research for this game, but it's been a crazy over series history, and it's been weird. You would not always assume that Predators versus Blues would be over, but that's what we have seen with these two teams for the most part. And I think there's a potential we see that again here. I've definitely had to downgrade Nashville defensively because when you give up 4 goals a couple of times, sometimes it's just a couple of bad bounces. We just didn't play well. We know we're capable of better. And then we can, and then all of a sudden we get back to our defensive improvement and getting back to playing better at that end of the ice. But when it's this kind of a run for Nashville defensively, where during this 1-5 slide, they have given up at least 4 goals in every game. They've given up 4 straight goals and 4 goals or more in 6 straight games coming into today. So when you look at this situation here for the Nashville Predators, we can't think of them as a defensive-minded team anymore. Well, first of all, since Brunette got there as the head coach, he's instilled pace and letting the players show their offensive creativity. That's been a big part of it, no question. And I think also when you look at this Nashville team, their defensive play has just dropped off. And even more than that, UC Saros has played some of the worst hockey he's played in a long time over the last few starts that he's had. And I think when you look at his play, and Jimmy Murphy, again, I'll go back to Jimmy when he was on yesterday, when he talked about this game. He said, I think the trade rumors that are suddenly firing up about UC Saros, a guy that's played his whole career in Nashville, I think mentally it's got him off kilter a little bit. Like, this is life-changing shit if you get traded. He's only known one city in North America where he's played in the NHL, and that's Nashville. And now all of a sudden his name's out there in trade rumors. Maybe it's getting in his head mentally, and it's affecting his performance on the ice. You know how trade potential can affect players.
Sure. Yeah.
Families have to get uprooted. You got to, find new living accommodations all of a sudden. So I think when you look at them, Big Siv Dave, by the way, might be out to play today in this game for the LA Kings. It's now 2-0 for Boston here in this game on like 4 shots. So that's a goal he's got to stop there too. That's just, nobody in front of you. So that's the problem with betting the Kings. And I'm telling you, especially with that guy in net. That guy could put up a Rembrandt against Edmonton and shut out one of the hottest teams in the league offensively, and he give up 2 goals in the first 9 minutes today. Have fun betting that. Erratic behavior. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, getting back to this one. Yeah, Nashville just not the same defensive team. St. Louis, they erupted against Edmonton the other night. Very impressive win for them, bouncing back after they lost to that short-handed, depleted Toronto Maple Leafs team earlier in the week. Let's see who's in net. Saros and Binnington is the projection, but neither one's been confirmed. Another thing, too, for the Blues is they are a bit banged up on the blue line with still Scott Perunovich and Justin Falk out. So the bottom line is St. Louis, I think, can take advantage and do damage against a struggling Nashville D. But after Nashville gets absolutely crushed by Dallas 9-2 the other night, I think they come out with a burst in their step. Roman Josi kind of called them out, and he's a very quiet leader on that team. He doesn't say a whole lot, and he's not usually one to, crack the whip on his teammates. But even he said that after the Dallas game the other night, says we got to really up the urgency and realize where we're at. We've got to get things rolling here right now. So Nashville, St. Louis, I'm looking at first period over, a little first period, both teams to score, and over 6 as well in this matchup here. Alex, is he okay?
Yeah. My screen completely went black in the middle of you talking. Okay. I was like, I'm hoping I was able to get back on. Yeah. So I like the first period over 1.5 minus $1.30, and I like full game over 6. I'm gonna grab probably half units on each of those pregame and then look for a little more in game. I also like the draw here. This is definitely a draw season spot. 2 teams in the same division battling for the same spot. It's going to be tight and it's going to be tedious. And this is one of those games where if it's tied with about 5-6 minutes left, both teams know, hey, we need the points. Let's skate out the rest of this period. We'll take it OT, take our chances in 3-on-3 or in the shootout. But points are at a premium in this contest, so I could definitely see this one being close enough to where the draw comes into play. at plus 325. Shop around. I think there's some better prices for that. But I have the draw in pocket along with first period over, full game overs. Short looks pregame with a little more added on in game.
All right, there we go. Good stuff. As far as props, yeah, Thomas Novak, Kristen's a really good call. He's the one that's actually doing something offensively right now for Nashville. He's been good. I would definitely agree with that. I think probably props for him are worth a look because Forsberg and O'Reilly have finally cooled off a little bit here. And Gus Nyquist has definitely cooled off. Remember, we were on the Gus bus for a long time there, but I think he hasn't scored a goal since January 18th, almost a full month ago, and only like 3 points during that span. So definitely. And then for St. Louis, you could go Robert Thomas. You can go Jordan Kyrou, who's red hot right now. And, of course, you can go with Won't You Be My Neighbor, Jake Neighbors, of course, as well. It's basically that same group that I've been targeting with St. Louis for props repeatedly here the last several games. All right, before we continue along here and get to the rest of the Saturday card, shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. We're at the midway point of this long card, so we're going to do the Boston Hemp Inc. ad right now instead. Here in the midway part of the show, and then we'll continue with the night slate of games, and we still have plenty ahead. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And again, we thank Boston Hemp Inc., great sponsors and partners here of the Ice Guys show, now new sponsors every single day, and the Betcasts as well. Let's hear from them and their great products. Here we go, Boston Hemp. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out and all their quality products, and make sure you get 20% off all your orders as well using promo code Ice Guys over at BostonHempInc.com.
That goal was disallowed.
All right, that goal was disallowed, by the way. Yeah, so still 1-0 Bruins. David Riddick bailed out there because he should have had that one. But
I'm going with the old puck don't lie. I'm looking for a first period over now. And might even look for Boston to score again.
Boston score next goal. There you go. Exactly. A lot of that often happens. Oh, you get one called back, you score again 2 minutes later. It's fucking uncanny how many times I've seen that. Actually, it's happened quite a bit. There's no question. So that might be a decent way to approach it there. All right. So we have. Let me just take a look at the schedule. The rest of the games are night games here on this Saturday slate. 6 to go. They're all at night, and we begin with Washington and Montreal. We've got the Washington Capitals minus 120 road favorites in La Belle Province, and the total 6 here across the board in this one. Give me Montreal here. I know they just beat Washington right out of the All-Star break, so it's a little revenge spot here for the Capitals, but I have no issues fading the Capitals as road chalk. Are you kidding me? This is not a team I want right now. This is a team that has fallen on hard times, as I expected they would at some point. This is now a team that's just a lousy 1-8 in their last 9 games. The only victory was against Boston, which you would think, wow, at least they had one really good win. It was not a really good win. Boston didn't show up to play hockey that day and said, you know what, Washington, we don't want this game. You guys take it. So that's the only win they've had the last 9. Goaltending has really fallen off for Washington. Kemper's been inconsistent. He'll be in net tonight for them. The one concern is Jake Allen is in net for Montreal. He's had his struggles lately too. So yes, I am on Montreal plus 100, but I'm also on over, and I got over 5.5 minus 125 in this game. I couldn't believe the price. I think it was an off-market number because most books have 6 for the total here. And then there was this 888 sport bet out of Ontario here, had over 5.5 minus 125 on Washington, Montreal. And that is, I'm jumping on that because the one thing about Montreal is they're scoring. They're also conceding a lot. The Montreal defense has been a little shaky. We know Washington's been giving up goals in bunches the last little while as well. So this is over 5.5. I recommend and endorse over 6 as well. I didn't go with first period over, but because I got a 5.5. Usually if I see 5.5, I will not bet first period as well. I'll just stick with over 5.5. So over 5.5 and Montreal plus 100. Yeah, you guys are already onto it too as far as props for this game. Slavkovsky train has to keep on rolling down the tracks for me. This has been game in, game out, cashing with Uri Slavkovsky to score a goal for the Montreal Canadiens, and he continues to just get the job done for this team playing with Suzuki and Caulfield. Most confidence he's had. Have they adjusted the price? They finally have. Okay, this is the first time all the while that Uri Slavkovsky has been below the bargain bin threshold price, plus 270, but it's still a great price, considering what he's been doing lately for the Canadians. So there you have it. Definitely Slavkovsky train once again for me in this one. Alex, what do you think here? Capitals, Canadians.
Yeah, this game not really sticking out much. I'm taking a shot with a draw like I usually do when these two teams play, but that's pretty much about it. It's a big card. That's another thing I like this evening. Don't really care for a side or total in the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting feisty with the Kings and Bruins as they just tied it up 1-1. Kings and Bruins just now. So, yeah, rough and tumble here. This is Boston. That's what you get with two teams that are, we got a fight here, Frederick and England. So there you go. Good start there in that game with a little fisticuffs, little nastiness. Like to see it. That Andreas Englund, man, he's an underrated tough. He's dropped the gloves a bunch of times, this kid for LA, and he's pretty good. So, like to see it. There we go. A little anger here early in this Kings and Bruins. And Trent Frederick won't back down from anybody. So great to see it. And it's a hell of a fight they got going here. Fantastic. We need more of this in this sport. Love it. Fantastic. Look at the players on the bench. Look at the crowd. Look at the crowd. No one's on there sitting down on their keister right now during a fight like that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Get everybody riled up. That changes the whole dynamic of the game. And now this pace looks pretty good. Maybe you want to look for some over in this.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd be getting a 1-1 first period here. But like I say, sometimes when you get two teams with some urgency, you get it. So a great hit by Damon on the both teams to score plus 200. And you get a price like that on it because it's a 5.5 total. That's how you're able to get, that kind of a price with it. So well done there. All right, next up, we've got I think we said all we needed to say about that game. I think, Allen and Kemper look like I said, they're going to be the goalies. They're both confirmed for tonight. All right, Anaheim Ducks, Toronto Maple Leafs next up as Anaheim continues their Eastern Canadian road trip. We've got Toronto minus 270, home favorites in this game. The total here sitting at, it looks like 6.5 shaded to the over pretty much across the board here in this matchup. By the way, Toronto, they seem not to be able to put out the same lineup 2 games in a row, and it looks like it's going to be more of the same tonight where John Tavares is out again for this Toronto Maple Leafs team, and it looks like it's an injury, not mono this time. So just being careful, making sure he sits, and I guess they figure it's the Anaheim Ducks will sit him here in this game tonight. Martin Jones, by the way, getting the start tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, he was unavailable the previous few games, been under the weather, but he is back and ready to go. It was Martin Jones in net here for this Leafs team tonight. Martin Jones, though, that has not been nearly as effective as he was when he first got those starts for Toronto, where he really was playing quite well. But all of a sudden, you look at Martin Jones, the last 5 starts in net, 4 goals allowed to the Islanders, 4 goals allowed to Colorado. Those were losses. 3 goals allowed to Edmonton. That was a loss. He did beat Calgary, but still gave up 3. And then the 6-goal output that he gave up to Vancouver in a loss. So has been trending a little bit backward, which, as all things Martin Jones usually do. What goes up must come back down at some point. And starting to see that right now with the Leafs here, or with Martin Jones in net. I sprinkled on the draw here. This, to me, is a draw price that is just too rich to ignore. It's plus 410 at FanDuel. And I know it's Saturday night. It's not a weeknight game. If this was Anaheim on a weeknight game, you really could get a sterile, sleepy Leaf team. Maybe on Saturday night. The building usually is a little bit more lively on Saturday night for a Leaf home game. But still, they seem to always do this, not make it easy on themselves when they play these lower-rung Western Conference teams at home. Although they have played well in Toronto, they've actually beaten Anaheim 5 straight times in Toronto, and that's the reason why I'm not on the Ducks here. I don't trust the Ducks. The Ducks have to show me they can play 2 in a row pretty well. I mean, I credit to them for the nice win against Ottawa, 5-1, but got to show me they can do it 2 in a row. They have not strung 2 wins together in a row in a very, very long time, this Ducks team. So that's the concern I have with looking to back them right now. Actually, they did it once against Minnesota and San Jose late January, but outside of that, you have not seen 2 wins in a row in a very long time from this team. So for me, just the draw here, plus 410. You can't argue with it. Look, they went to OT earlier this year when they played in Anaheim, January the 3rd, 2-1 Leafs in overtime. 3 of the last 4 meetings have gone to overtime or a shootout. Lukas Dostal is in net for Anaheim, and this is someone that absolutely stood on his head when he played Toronto in that game in January last month. So maybe he's going to play well again here. I lean over too. I might have a small little bit on the over as well, just because Jones is starting to regress. And look, Anaheim I still view as a team that is capable to score, but capable to give up as well goals. So lean over the total as well. I don't love it, but I'll have a small bet on that. So draw and a small overlook for me in this game. Alex, Ducks, Leafs.
Yeah, I grabbed a little bit of draw too out of principle with this high of a price. And like I said, this would have been a much better spot if this was a weekday game, but it still could be where there's some back and forth and not much going on. If Toronto gets out to a lead early, then Anaheim's going to be in trouble. But if Anaheim can press the action, get a goal first, and force Toronto to kind of come back, we could see this one kind of maybe be a little stagnant. So I'm staying away from a total here because if we get to say 2-1 Anaheim, Leafs tie this thing up, and then they could just start getting into cardio mode, skating this thing out, and all of a sudden we find an OT. So at +4, I got +405 at Bet Online. Like I said, +410 is a better price at FanDuel. Definitely worth grabbing at least a little in pocket. That's the only thing I like in this contest.
All right, good stuff. There are a few props that I'm looking at here in this game as well with the Ducks and the Bruins. Adam Henrique back in Toronto. I think he's a Toronto kid. It wouldn't surprise me to see him have a nice night here and get involved. So Adam Henrique for the Ducks. Ryan Strome, has been better lately. Vetrano, McTavish all stand out from a Ducks standpoint. Toronto, with the absence of Tavares, Domi's taking that spot with Nylander and Bertuzzi. I can see Max Domi being having some value tonight. Now filling that second line spot with Nylander and Bertuzzi. Matthew Nyes the other night made a bad turnover, and Sheldon Keefe let him know about it on the bench. I think he could actually find. Yeah, I think he'll make up for it. He's going to want to play a heck of a game to make up for that blunder the other night. So +340 for him, still on the top line with Matthews and Marner. So you're still getting really good prices right there with Matthew Nyes. I could see him looking to make amends. He hasn't made many defensive mistakes, but that was one against Philadelphia, which I know Sheldon Keefe wasn't very happy about. So I could see him stepping his game up, trying to make amends for that. All right, next up, it is the first of 2 Stadium Series outdoor games taking place in the same venue, MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. It is the Philadelphia Flyers taking on the New Jersey Devils. The Devils are -140. Home favorites. You can say home favorites, obviously. The total in this one currently 6, shaded to the over. Worth noting with this total, it did not open at 6. This total opened 6.5, so we've seen under money. I can't disagree. It does kind of feel like we'll see lower scoring hockey. Samuel Ersson will be in net for the Philadelphia Flyers once again, and it probably will be Nico Daws for the New Jersey Devils. Not confirmed yet, but projected that Nico Daws will be in between the pipes for the Devils. He's been better than Vanacek lately. There's no question. So I don't argue with that decision if that is indeed what Lindy Ruff ends up going with as his goaltender for this game. Looks like as far as condition, apparently the ice is in solid shape for this game. When you look at wind conditions here for this game, there is, I think, a small a chance of it looks like it's going to be a little colder there because they're projecting around 32, 31 Fahrenheit at game time. Little snowfall during the day, but it's supposed to get out of the area by late afternoon. And again, it is going to be a little bit windy, though, they do say. So keep an eye on that. A colder night, some mild gusts, not heavy.
Yeah,
but there's going to be some mild wind gusts tonight in New Jersey for this game. But like I say, the ice should be fine. Like if you're worried about players being able to make plays on that ice surface because the ice is in rough shape, it shouldn't be. The temperatures are going to be really good, for this ice surface that's going to be in there at MetLife Stadium here for this outdoor game tonight on ABC. Of course, I forgot to mention, of course, this is ABC as well. Their third game of their triple header in prime time here tonight. For me, I would lean under. This is your Ian Cameron. I think this is a good under game, but when I say a game goes under, 8 times out of 10 it goes over. But that hasn't happened as much lately. I think the last 2 games I've said I like an under, it stayed under. So maybe have some more confidence when I like an under now. But I think this is probably lower scoring. Look, the Flyers want this to be a low event game. New Jersey's actually kind of trending toward being tighter defensively, believe it or not. Look at the last few games they've played. No question about that. I also think Jack Hughes, look, bad penalty. Everyone saw the what he was chirping at Arvidsson for the Kings in the last game. People come here to people paid to see me. He said in chirp style in the penalty box to Arvidsson. So I think Jack Hughes over 1.5 points. I do like that. Maybe a goal prop, but especially a shot with over 1.5 points tonight on Mr. Hughes. I could see him wanting to be better. It was not one of his better games. It was not one of his finer moments. Kind of a rough look, him being petulant like that, snapping a stick in half in that game against LA the other night. So I could definitely see Jack Hughes trying to have a better step-up game here tonight for the Devils. So for me, I lean under, and maybe this is another draw potential sprinkle for me as well. That's about it here. But a game to watch, good game to watch, but from a betting standpoint, not one of my favorites on the slate today. What do you think here, Alex? Stadium Series, MetLife, Flyers, Devils.
Yeah, this would be an interesting game. And I would be all over the draw if this was being played indoors. We don't get a lot of OT games with the outdoor game. So that's the reason I'm off the draw here. Under makes sense live. I like the first period over. Like I said, these are 2 division rivals. They need to get things off and rolling. I think we can see some goals here. Like I said, ice should be perfect. At 32 degrees, I think the highest we might even see wind gusts to be around 10 miles an hour. Not much cloud cover, so there shouldn't be any kind of issue as far as the players seeing and feeling the puck on the ice. And I think that's just going to lead now for just a good atmosphere, obviously with the bigger crowd and a split fan base. So I expect goals early. I like the first period over. I laid $1.25 with that, but I could see this kind of coming down to a halt after an intermission. So I might be looking to jump in on a live under if we can grab and cash that first period with the over 1.5.
All right, good stuff there for Alex with the Flyers and the Devils. As far as props, like I said, I'm interested in some Jack Hughes props tonight just because I think he'll want to be a whole lot better than he was against the Kings. Really, this game, from a scoring standpoint, I don't know if there's going to be a boatload of it. So it's not one of those games you really want to load up on player props. But if I were to pick someone on the Philly side, Paling, maybe Morgan Frost. Certainly can't go wrong with anyone on the top line, Tippett and Couturier and Konechny. So definitely you could look in those directions.
Outdoor games have been kind of weird. Outdoor games have been kind of weird over the years. This is maybe a spot you could take a shot with a third or fourth line guy to get a goal. I know we've seen some guys. Think about Darren Helm with Detroit. I think he's playing against Detroit with Colorado. So the only goal that he got was in an outdoor game. Trying to remember with the Hawks, there was somebody too. There's been some unsung heroes in some of these outdoor games, so definitely don't mind looking at the bargain bin range with either Flyers or Devils tonight, because there's usually somebody that you wouldn't expect to step up and get a goal when they're outside.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely one of those. You're right. An outdoor game, I find that. Take your shot with your fourth liner or down the lineup, down the depth chart player, because sometimes you're going to end up, getting value on them, and they're going to step up unexpectedly. You're right. I find that does happen more. You're going to get your fourth line scoring more often in the outdoors.
A third line defenseman just firing a puck on net and getting a redirect and going in. Yeah, it's definitely something. And so it's something to keep in mind for tomorrow with the Isles and Rangers. Same kind of deal. I'll probably be looking at maybe a defenseman or a bottom line forward to get a goal in that contest.
You're seeing why I don't bet many unders too, because I don't ever like losing a bet. I feel 10 times worse when I lose a bet on an under. Yeah. Which is, I find that's like, what am I doing here? Life's too short to bet an under, and I don't even win the fucking thing, you know? And I'm like, geez, that's, it's, so that's why, usually, no unders for me. I'll lean unders. And certainly when I think a game's under, it'll keep me off and over. But yeah, very rarely do I pull the trigger on an under. Very rarely. This would be a game that, from a Winnipeg standpoint, you talk about very difficult to bet overs. Very difficult right now with the Winnipeg Jets. They take on the Vancouver Canucks. This is one of the highlight matchups of the night. the night slate. That is for sure. Vancouver minus 120, home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. I mean, Winnipeg's, what are they? Oh, they're 8-0-2 to the under in their last 10 games. They have not cashed one over in their last 10 games, the Winnipeg Jets. They are playing Rick Bowness hockey to the tits right now. There is no question about that. He wants them to play good, solid, strong defensive hockey, team defense here in this during this stretch drive, the second half, and they are basically playing that way. They're playing pretty solid defensively. But what's concerning about the Jets is their offensive game has really, really slowed down. I mean, during this stretch where they had lost 5 in a row, now they have won 2 in a row since then, but in those 2 games, they only score 3 goals combined in those 2 games. And prior to that, in the 5-game losing streak, they failed to score more than 2 goals. In fact, they failed to score more than 2 goals in 7 straight games, the Winnipeg Jets. So they have really kind of cooled off a little bit offensively. Monahan's really yet to hit his stride here with the Jets. And it's funny, you talk about the fact that they're fully healthy now. Kyle Connor's come back, but his offense has kind of been stunted. He's only got 1 goal since January 20th. There's a lot of binary code right now, Alex, with Winnipeg Jets player statistics, especially in the goal categories. Mark Scheifele's got a lot of 0-0-1-0-1 as well of late. And even my guy here, since he's been back from injury, Gabe Velarde, a lot of zeros on his ledger lately, someone that was really red hot earlier in the season. So, they're struggling a little bit at the offensive end of the ice right now, this Winnipeg team. There's no question. Vancouver, a very arduous, tough road trip, 5 tough road games, a lot of games in a short period of time. And they ended up going 3-2 on that road trip. Carolina, Washington, Chicago were the victories. They had the bad game against Boston. They had the overtime loss at Detroit, where they had a 3-1 lead in the third, not hold it. But they avenged that loss with a 4-1 win against Detroit the other night, back home off that road trip. So when I think when you look at this here, as far as this game goes, I ain't fading the Canucks right now. It's just a question of, do I back them here? I think I probably will jump on them for a smaller look, minus 120. For Winnipeg, look, they've won 2 in a row. Clearly, they snapped the losing streak, but they beat Pittsburgh in a revenge spot. Clearly, that was a spot to raise your game against a team that just beat you, and Pittsburgh's average. And then you beat San Jose and barely, 1-0. Recently, when the Jets have played a better team, hasn't gone well. They lose to the Flyers twice. They lose to Boston. They lose back-to-back to Toronto. So when they've stepped up in class recently, Winnipeg hasn't been some of their better performances, and they have not gotten results in some of these games against better competition. So, yeah, Vancouver minus 120 or nothing for yours truly. What do you think here, Alex? Jets, Canucks?
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at this, take a little deeper look into this, like I said, 8-0-2 under run for Winnipeg. Something that's actually been cashing well is the first period over. 5 of the last 9 games, we've seen the first period over cash in. So, like I said, not all predicated on the Jets' offense, of course. That's on the opposite team. And like I said, Vancouver's a hot team right now. I like their form. So I'm taking a shot, smaller shots, with first period over 1.5, minus $1.10. And also Vancouver first period puck line, laying the half a goal, and get plus 180 at Caesars. I think Vancouver can maybe get 2 goals here and help us cash both of those, or we can see a 2-1 period, and then things will slow down. Even if you've been betting the unders pregame with Winnipeg during that streak, you've had chances where you could have gotten probably 8.5 to 7.5 at plus prices to bet in game, because it seems like all the offense just goes out the window in Jets games during the second period. That's where we've been seeing a lot of the scoreless hockey. So looking for action early and then looking for things to temper down late. Kind of the same thing with the outdoor game. We're going first period over, Vancouver first period puck line, and then maybe hoping for a bit of a live under into the second period.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know. I think Winnipeg they're not going to have the complete collapse of last year. But they've got to start putting good results on the board against good teams. Like you got to find ways down this. They're going to be playing a lot of Vancouver, a lot of Vegas, a lot of Colorado, a lot of teams like that down the stretch of the regular season. And lately their results against the better teams has not been all that great. So that is something definitely to keep an eye on right now with this Winnipeg Jets team. They got to up their game against the better teams. They haven't been doing that lately. They've got another chance, to prove themselves here tonight against the Canucks, who I was so impressed that they got that win against Detroit, simply because it was such a brutal spot. The road trip, how long it was. They found a way to win that night. As far as props in this game, like I say, JT Miller's been really good lately, but again, he's priced like it. But I would still stick to considerations of the likes of Suter, of the likes of um, who else? There's someone I've talked about repeatedly other than Suter. I'm trying to think now who it is. I think it's Höglander. There we
Oh,
go.
yeah.
And Höglander's up to the top line with Pettersson and Lindholm tonight for the Vancouver Canucks. So we're back on the Nils Höglander Express. Hog, as someone would say in our chat with Nils Höglander. So, I'm definitely going to go back to the well with his goal prop tonight in this game, especially now getting top line assignment here with Pettersson and Lindholm. How about that? An all Swedish line right there. Pettersson, Lindholm, and Höglander together. A Swede line, if you will, for Rick Tocchet and the Vancouver Canucks tonight. All right, Carolina Hurricanes, Vegas Golden Knights, even money, minus 110 both sides, 6 the total here in this game. Look, Carolina, great win last night. A little surprised, though, and this, I think, sets up well for what I like in this game. I was a very surprised Kochetkov got last night's game, not tonight's game, against the Vegas Golden Knights. Kochetkov got the start against Arizona. It's not been confirmed yet, but you can pretty much bank on the fact we'll see Spencer Martin get a start tonight for the Carolina Hurricanes on the back-to-back here for them after the win last night. For Vegas, look, that wasn't one of their better games. Last time we saw them Monday night against Minnesota, they lost 5-3 at home. Sloppy. Wasn't one of Aiden Hill's better games in between the pipes either in that matchup. He's projected to be the starter tonight. They've had all week to stew on that game, practice, heal up the bumps and bruises, and get ready for a very good Carolina team tonight. I just think from a situational spot standpoint here, it really, really does set up nicely here for Vegas. So I'm on Vegas here, minus 110, even money. I am. I think it's a good spot here to go with them. They've had all week to get ready. I think they've played well more often than not in Vegas when hosting Carolina. Back-to-back situation here for the Hurricanes. And who knows what we're going to get from Spencer Martin. He's another one of these Forrest Gump of goaltenders. You never know what you're going to get right now with him. You can give up 2 goals. You can give up 4, 5, 6, or even 7. There's a little bit of everything right there on his ledger this season when he's gotten a backup goaltender for the Carolina Hurricanes, or when he's gotten into a net, I should say, this season. So, Vegas minus 110. I even sprinkled on a minus a half at plus 195 with the Vegas Golden Knights in the first period puck line here in this game. Really come out strong early here in this game and maybe get a lead after the first 20 minutes. And at that price, plus 195, I figure I'll take a shot with that as well. What do you think here, Alex? Hurricanes, Golden Knights.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is a cheap price to get Vegas and buying low. And like I said, Spencer Martin's been a bit up and down. I think he will fare well in Carolina. I think this is your tandem to ride with, honestly, Kochetkov and Martin. But in saying that, like I said, I think they're just kind of running into a little bit of a buzzsaw here. Vegas, Saturday night at home. In a pick 'em range, you got to go with the Golden Knights here, especially off of a bad effort. So I'm right there, VGK money line.
Yeah, Nick, I don't buy into trap lines. I've said that on a million shows over on Pub Sports Radio. I get basketball shows where I got people telling me, "Oh, it's a trap line." Oh, I'm worried about how cheap this number is. Nah, I don't worry about that stuff. We bet what we think's the right side, the right play, regardless of what price it is, what number it is, any of that. So, that's what you always got to do. You got to believe in your handicap. You got to believe in the process, regardless of what the number is and what the price is, or how much percentage of the public is on it, and all that nonsense. I don't even worry about that.
And if anything, Vegas is a public team, so if anything, the fact that this number is low, I think that the trap might be looking at the other way. Like, why isn't why is Carolina close to being a pickle spot? I don't buy into that either in hockey, even especially now. I would say playoffs would be a little bit more of a different thing because there's just way more people betting on it. So you can kind of look at those splits and stuff now, but I couldn't care less who the public's on during the regular season.
Yeah. No, the public was all over Kansas City in the Super Bowl. How did that work? Yeah. How did that work?
The public wins sometimes. The public's not as stupid as you think. And here's the thing, too, because we're talking about the book still making adjustments, right? You just mentioned about the difference between BetTano and BetMGM with a player prop, okay? Yeah. Those things, you don't have that kind of spread out in any other sport. You only have that still in hockey because the books haven't caught up, and they still aren't as sharp as they can be in this sport. So when you're looking at it from this aspect, the public's knowledge isn't way off from the books or the sharps,
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. It's like I said, I had people feeding me that bull junk against in the Super Bowl, telling me that San Francisco, you got to bet them now. The whole world's going to love Kansas City in this game. So that's your fundamental analysis to take San Francisco. It's not the offense matches up well. It's Brock Purdy's going to outplay Patrick Mahomes. It's not Kyle Shanahan's going to outcoach Andy Reid. No, the only reason some of these people gave me to bet San Francisco is because the whole world's going to be on Kansas City. Nonsense. That's just a bunch of garbage. And I'm sick of hearing it from people that's the sole reason to bet a certain side or a certain total. That's absolutely absurd. Do the handicap. Do your work. Do your research. Put the time into it. Come up with your reasoning.
Also, there's a reason that sportsbooks will send you out emails telling you what the splits are.
Yeah. No, that's right. So, like I say, it's one of those deals where you cannot be talked off a side simply because you think the public's pounding that side that you like. It's just that's the way I look at it, and I've been better off as a bettor because of it. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I see a lot of the chat had Boston in the first period, either money line or puck line. So well done. A lot of early winners for a lot of people in the chat here. As far as props go, look, if you're going to bet Carolina props, I mean, Bunting is heating up. Now, I like Martinook last night simply because of the situation against his old team. I'm not sure he scores again tonight, but certainly the value's there. Steph Nason, Marty Necas, Seth Jarvis scored last night, so there's definitely some options there. And then for Vegas, Chandler Stevenson stepped up lately. William Karlsson's back. Nick Waugh, Barbashev. Definitely I could see, both of those guys having some value. Nick Waugh's been very good lately as well for the Vegas Golden Knights. So definitely keep an eye on that. So I think there's some value with his props. All right, final game now of this massive Saturday slate. Columbus Blue Jackets and San Jose Sharks. Columbus minus 145 road favorites here in this game. 6 the total, pretty much across the board with this. Actually, is it 6 or is it 6.5? It is 6.5. There is actually a couple of 6s. I asked myself that because I actually did bet a 6 here with the Blue Jackets and the Sharks. But, you got Columbus, obviously, a team that's obviously fired a Jarmo Kekalainen. And by the way, finally we have a chance to talk about this. I didn't get around to it earlier this week when Jarmo Kekalainen, the GM of the Blue Jackets, got fired. Look, I thought he could have been gone after the Mike Babcock fiasco, quite honestly. But look, I mean, he's a nice man from all accounts. Everyone says good things about the guy that is Jarmo Kekalainen. He has to be a good guy to give a snake like Mike Babcock a third chance. He tried to see the good in somebody. Give them a second chance. We all make mistakes in life. They deserve another shot. He's a good enough guy to give Mike Babcock that shot, and it blew up in his face, unfortunately. So he is a nice guy, apparently, Jarmo, but he didn't do a good enough job as a GM, period. End of story. And you cannot say that the day he got fired a few days ago, that the Columbus Blue Jackets are in a better position as a franchise now than where they were when he took over. It's that simple, and that's why he's gone. He didn't do a good enough job. How's that Johnny Gaudreau contract looking right now? Lion A, how about that one? I mean, so, you look at it and it's there's some bad blunders on his resume, and he paid the piper for it, Jarmo Kekalainen. So a franchise that has really been stuck in mud here for a long period of time. Yeah, fire GM bump. I don't know if it's going to work that way, Bailey, but it wouldn't shock me. Do I trust San Jose to win 2 in a row? No, I can tell you that right now. They did win 3 in a row in January, but I don't trust this team to follow up the 6-3 win against Calgary. That was a horrendous spot for Calgary, and sure enough, they tripped on it. Now they're back home off a 3-game road trip. It's 1 game shy of the Malinsky special, which is the requirement is at least a 4-game road trip to come back home from for that angle to be in play. But still, it's not a great spot for San Jose coming home off the road. You have Columbus. They haven't played in 3 days since a 6-3 loss to Ottawa. They've had 2 losses in a row since the All-Star break. And when they look at this schedule, they're going to see that this is probably one of the few winnable games they have. I thought the price would be a little bit better, but I did sprinkle on Columbus here. I got minus 135. It's gone up a bit. But yeah, I did take a small Jackets ticket here. Columbus minus 135. But what I like even more than that here in this game is the trifecta that I'm on in a few other games today. Over first period, both teams to score first period, and a little over 6 in this game as well. Now, with San Jose, this is not always a team that plays high-scoring hockey, and they have gone under in 3 of their last 4 games. But now they play a team that just struggles to keep the puck out of the net. We don't trust any of their goaltenders, Merzlikins, Tarasov, or otherwise, for Columbus. Looks like it's going to be Mackenzie Blackwood in net for San Jose. It looks like Goodbranson's day-to-day with an injury. And say what you will about, their defense as it is, without him now, who's actually one of the guys that will be physical, will try to protect the front of the net. Now you're even worse if Goodbranson doesn't go tonight for the Blue Jackets. So I do think this is a spot for some goals tonight. So Columbus money line small, and also going to look at some goal related total bets here. Over 1.5 first period, both teams to score first period. And of course the over 6 here, which you can get. Now shop around. Some books have 6, but some have 6.5. So if you like the over, make sure you shop around for it. Alex, what do you think here, Columbus, San Jose?
No, when this game starts, I'll be watching the end of some other games, and by the time this game gets to the end, I'll be watching some reruns of Boardwalk Empire. This is a complete pass for me. I don't like either one of these teams, so already enough on a big card. It's a pass.
All right, there we go. And for props to me, as far as I would go, I would look at the Russians here on this team that have really been good for Columbus of late. I would look at Zadina and Zetterlund for San Jose. Those two guys have been pretty good for them offensively. It's catalysts for whatever scoring they get. And then on the Columbus side, Kent Johnson's getting more opportunities, so I think he's due to break through. And certainly I would say Shinikov and Voronkov, those two in particular, are worth a look. And Shinikov is back, indeed, occupancy for this game tonight. Great stuff. What a card on this Saturday. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And a reminder, make sure you sign up, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. And again, you're going to get access to our daily sides, totals, and player props every day on the Patreon page. Goalie charts, totals charts. We're going to have more video content, bonus content. We already had some stuff that we recorded during the break. We're going to have a Q&A recording by the end of the month, and we're going to answer some of those great questions that our Patreon members have posted on the page. So looking forward to that. And as you see on the screen, we have another Patreon exclusive live betcast coming your way this week. The Thursday betcast was a ton of fun. We've got another one coming up this week. So if you want to, don't miss out on this one. If you missed out Thursday, don't miss out on this one coming up this week. Sign up for just $10 per month at patreon.com/iceguys. And again, your subscription means you give us a chance to keep this thing rolling for a very long time to come. Patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month with our next Patreon exclusive live betcast coming up this week. And make sure you check out the Ice Guys store. Get your merch now at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, for today and the next 4 days, you get free standard shipping. Visit iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Click on the little redeem button at the top of the page, and everything you get can be shipped to you free in the standard timing. So get on that right now. That is at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, don't miss out on that next Patreon exclusive betcast because, as Matt says in the chat, you might win 12 straight bets in one game like he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
It could happen.
That's a hell of a feat. I remember that was, of course, he's referring to Dallas, Nashville the other night during the betcast. Yeah, and we had a lot of good live plays that night for sure. And yeah, it was a fun betcast. It was a very profitable betcast. Look, we've taken our lumps in some of these betcasts too, especially of late. But man, we had the profits rolling Thursday night, and we will aim to have the profits rolling again this week with another Patreon betcast.
And the thing of this too, obviously, we, like I said, we have a blast doing these betcasts with you guys too. But we also, for those of you who are just now getting your feet wet into, and we have to always remember this every year we go on the show, we know there's new viewers, there's new bettors. So for those of you who aren't as well versed in the art of live betting, we're also doing these every week to try to sharpen the sword for you guys, get you guys ready for when the playoffs come. Because I know me personally, I look for a lot of live looks during the playoffs. It kind of almost in the last couple of years has become 50-50 on live looks and pregame looks. So having more reps is a good thing. Just like the players on the ice, us as bettors, we need to have more reps of certain things. So having these betcasts really kind of helps us along with our timing and process.
Absolutely. It's a great environment. It really is. It's great fun. It's laughs. It's entertainment. It's watching the games. It's having a few beers, and just it's a bar and a pub atmosphere virtually. That is what the betcasts are, ladies and gentlemen. It's a bar and a pub atmosphere virtually, and it's great camaraderie. And more often than not, we also hope it's great profits as well. So, looking forward to another Ice Guys Patreon exclusive live betcast coming up this week. But don't forget about the main betcast, and a week from Tuesday. This one is open to everybody, free for all. Everybody gets to join in on this one. Tuesday, February 27th, 7 p.m. Eastern. Dallas, Colorado is the spotlight game that night because that's a very good potential. That's first place battle right there because those two teams are neck and neck in the Central Division. But it's not just that. There's a bunch of great games that night. It is a great card. Tuesday, February 27th, 7 p.m. Eastern. DM or email me or Alex for a spot on that betcast, and we will make sure we send you the StreamYard link for the betcast before it begins on Tuesday, February 27th. All right. Let's get right into it. Bargain bin special of the night for this Saturday slate. Alex, what do you got?
Yeah, let's go with Pius Suter of the Vancouver Canucks. Grabbed him to score. I'm trying to look back at my prices because I have a lot of plays. But we got him over there at FanDuel, or PointsBet rather, plus 360 is the best price available for him. Playing on the second line, getting some power play time. This is a guy who's, he gives you a dozen goals a year on average, but I think you could find a way to get a goal here tonight against, like I said, Jets team that their offense has been struggling mightily. And like I said, when you see the goals coming from them, it's early in the contest. So you could possibly look at a first goal spot here with Suter as well, but I'm just going to keep it a little bit simple. Still within the bargain bin range of plus 360 anytime goal for him and the Canucks tonight. That's my bargain bin special.
All right, there you go. Pius Suter for the Vancouver Canucks for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. My bargain bin special of the night, it's something I've already bet. It's something I actually already mentioned earlier on this show about him playing up on the top line in this afternoon affair with two of the best players in the world and the two best players on the team, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. This was plus 500 at Patano where I placed the bet like 30, 40 minutes ago. I bet it. I don't know who else did. Maybe some others did. It's down to plus 410 at Patano right now. It's moved 90 cents since I bet it. It's Corey Perry, man. We got to do it here today. He finally got his first goal as an Oiler. He's on the top line with McDavid and Draisaitl from all indications. He wasn't in Dallas long, but this is one of his few former teams where he played 57 games with the Stars back in 2019. Plus 425 is the best price I see out there. Bet 99, plus 410 at Patano, plus 400 ESPN Bet, plus 400 Bet Rivers, plus 400 PointsBet, plus 390 DraftKings, plus 360 FanDuel. So I basically rhymed off the price you can get with Corey Perry at all the different books. But Corey Perry, Edmonton Oilers for my bargain bin special of the night for this. And let's make it 3 in a row. Could you imagine that? We have 3 in a row maybe with the bargain bin special of the night. That would be something. But we'll go for 3 straight here with Mr. Perry this afternoon for the Edmonton Oilers against the Dallas Stars. All right, best bets for this Saturday NHL slate. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Let's go to the Battle of Florida. We got the Panthers taking on the Lightning. This is going to be a fantastic game. These two teams do not like each other, and it usually makes for some pretty exciting hockey. I think we're going to be watching on this a little bit longer than 60 minutes. So give me the draw, plus 325 with the Cats and Bolts, Battle of Florida going to OT. That is my best bet for this big Saturday.
All right, there we go. Panthers and Lightning draw for Alex B. Smith there in that one. And you can get upwards of plus 350 still at FanDuel with the draw. Panthers Lightning draw, best bet for Alex B. Smith here on this Saturday slate. My best bet for this Saturday card, there's a lot of choices for me with this slate. Lots to choose from. But I'm going to go with, I think in this one, I got, you know what, it's 6 for most people. I was going to go Washington, Montreal. I'm not going to go with that when I look at it just because of where the price is now. Let's go with Nashville, St. Louis over 6 minus 120. I'm not going to argue with series history at all. We've seen goals galore with the Predators and the Blues. They're just not defending right now, the Predators. They've given up at least 4 goals in 7 straight games. But I do think offensively here, after getting bombed by Dallas, they respond. I think St. Louis will get their goals at home against a struggling defense. Saros has been off his game lately. I do think we will see goals there with that battle inside the division. Predators and Blues over 6, -120, and both of those teams right in the mix for the wild card. So a big game with those two teams. Over 6, -120. Nashville, St. Louis for my best bet here for this Saturday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for joining us. John, I'm with you. It's St. Louis or pass. I'm off the side, though, because of Nashville getting embarrassed. I don't love going against teams when they've been humiliated like that, but St. Louis better form right now. There's no question. So it would be Blues or nothing for me in that game. Good luck to you on that one. All right. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. And just a reminder about the show tomorrow, which will be our usual times, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on Sunday. We'll be doing the 3 Sunday games, including the outdoor game with the Rangers and the Islanders. And we'll also be talking about the first 4 Monday games on the show tomorrow. So that will be all the early Monday games up to and including Vancouver and Minnesota at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then on Monday's show, which will remain at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, we will start with Detroit and Seattle at 3:30 Eastern and go through the rest of the Monday card on Monday's show. And we will have John Massey joining us on Monday as well. For his first appearance on the Daily Show. And the only reason he hasn't been on before, because we know he'd do a great job, is because he's always working and unavailable when we do the show during the day usually. So John Massey, our guest on Monday, looking forward to that as well. Matt Robinson will be back in the mix Tuesday. As of right now, we got Carter Hutton Wednesday, Mike Volman on Thursday. I mean, we got a lot of stuff coming up this week on the show. So a great week. Packed week of shows coming up, no doubt. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Sunday for another edition of the Ice Guys.